ladies and gentlemen. We tend to think of boundaries as cold, hard things, lines drawn in the sand, sharp edges, a firm no, and yes, boundaries can be firm. They should be firm. But at their core, boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about keeping ourselves safe within. A boundary isn't a wall. A wall keeps everything and everyone out, including light, air, and connection. A boundary, when done right, is a door. It opens and closes. It's conscious. It's chosen. It lets in what nourishes and it shuts out what harms. That's the difference. For a long time, I didn't understand this. I believed I had only two modes: be endlessly available and accommodating, or cut people off completely. I would give and give and give, hoping toxic people would magically realize they were asking too much when they didn't. When they kept taking, criticizing, manipulating, I would explode. I'd ghost, I'd burn the bridge, and then I'd feel guilty, confused, or worse. I'd miss them. The problem wasn't always them. The problem was I hadn't learned to install the door. I hadn't built the boundary. Healthy boundaries are rooted in self-worth. They say, I believe I deserve to be treated with respect. I trust myself to decide what is and isn't okay for me. That's it. It's the whole blueprint. And when we start practicing this, truly living it, not just saying it, something profound begins to shift. Toxic people notice. They may push back harder at first, but eventually they get the message. This is a door you don't get to walk through anymore, and they stop knocking. But boundaries don't have to be dramatic. You don't need to announce them with a social media post or make a declaration to the world. Most boundaries are quiet, invisible. They're found in the pause before replying to a message, in the choice to leave a text on read, in the calm, I can't make it tonight, instead of the guilt-soaked maybe. Boundaries are often internal shifts, not external performances. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. And you don't need to yell to be heard. Here's the truth that took me years to learn. People who love you will respect your boundaries. People who benefit from your lack of them will resent your boundaries. That's how you tell who's who. It's not your job to twist yourself into something more digestible for others. It's your job to be honest about what you need and trust that the right people can handle it. The wrong ones will fall away. Let them. Your door was never meant for them. What makes boundaries powerful isn't just the protection they offer, it's the clarity they bring. You start to see who drains you, who energizes you, and who respects your time, space, and spirit. Toxic people lose interest in those they can't manipulate. They disappear, not because you banished them, but because your truth made their tactics irrelevant. You stop being a source of supply. That's the real magic. That's the power. Of course, setting boundaries can be messy. It brings up fear of being rejected, disliked, or misunderstood. But staying small, staying agreeable, staying accessible to everyone all the time, that costs so much more. It costs your energy, your clarity, your joy. The first boundary is the hardest, but it gets easier. With each no that honors your needs, you build self-trust. With each hard conversation you choose to have, you find more of your voice. You become less available to what hurts and more open to what heals. So if you do this one thing, if you start treating boundaries as doors instead of walls, everything can change. You begin walking through your own life with more confidence, more freedom, and far less noise. The toxic ones won't know how to handle it, but the right ones will love you all the more for it. Because now when your door opens, it's not out of obligation, it's out of truth. And that, more than anything, is what keeps you safe. There comes a moment, sometimes quiet, sometimes explosive, when you realize you've been abandoning yourself to keep the peace. You've said yes when your body screamed no. You've tolerated disrespect because you didn't want to seem difficult. You've downplayed your needs, your feelings, your gut instincts, all in the name of being liked, staying connected, or avoiding conflict. And then one day, the cost of that self-abandonment becomes too high. That's where radical self-respect begins. It's the decision to choose yourself, not because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you finally remember that you matter too. Radical self-respect isn't loud or aggressive. It's not about proving your worth to others. It's about quietly, fiercely living like your time, energy, and heart are not up for grabs. It's a shift that happens inside when you stop waiting for permission to be whole. When you stop asking, is this okay with everyone else? And start asking, is this okay with me? That shift is small, but it is sacred, and it changes everything. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop loving others. It means you stop loving them at your own expense. It means you no longer betray your boundaries just to keep someone else comfortable. It means you stop shrinking so others can feel bigger. It means you don't chase after people who repeatedly show you that you're not a priority. You give what you can from a place of fullness, not depletion. That's not selfish. That's sustainable love. And yes, guilt will show up. It always does when we break old patterns. Guilt is the ghost of who you used to be, the one who overgave, overextended, overexplained. When you start showing up differently, that version of you gets uncomfortable. You'll hear the voices, internal and external, telling you that you're being too harsh, too cold, too distant. But here's the truth. Setting limits where there were none before is going to feel like rebellion. Because it is. It's a rebellion against self-neglect. There's a deep, quiet strength in a person who respects themselves. You can feel it in the way they speak, the way they pause before agreeing to something, the way they don't rush to fill the silence just to make things easier for others. They've stopped living from a place of people-pleasing and started living from a place of integrity. Their yes means yes. Their no means no. You can trust them, not because they bend over backwards, but because they don't. What we often forget is that people learn how to treat us based on what we tolerate. If we keep accepting crumbs, crumbs are what we'll get. But when we raise our standards, when we show up with radical self-respect, the people who can't meet us there either rise or fall away. And that's not a loss, that's a clearing. It makes room for the ones who value us without conditions, the ones who don't just benefit from our light, but protect it too. You are not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. You're responsible for honoring what's true for you. And when you start doing that consistently, something incredible happens. Your world becomes more honest, more peaceful, more aligned. You stop second-guessing every decision. You stop rehearsing your worth in front of people who can't even hear you. You stop begging for a seat at tables where you were never meant to dine. Radical self-respect is not a one-time choice. It's a daily practice. It's choosing not to engage in that toxic conversation. It's walking away from something that used to define you. It's saying, I deserve better, and then actually acting like it. It's unlearning the belief that your value comes from what you do for others and reclaiming the truth that your value is inherent. You don't earn it, you own it. And when you finally choose yourself without guilt, toxic people don't know what to do with you because they can no longer use your self-doubt as a door. There's a specific kind of peace that comes when you realize you don't have to explain yourself anymore. You don't have to beg to be understood, to be believed, to be treated kindly. You don't have to stay in the arena trying to prove your worth to people who have already made up their minds about you. That's where dignity enters. It doesn't slam the door. It doesn't scream. It simply gets up and walks out quietly. And in that silence, there's more power than 1,000 arguments. Disengaging doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you didn't try. Most of us who finally disengage have been over backwards for too long. We've had the hard conversations. We've given the benefit of the doubt. We've stayed in rooms we had no business being in just to keep the connection alive. Disengaging is often the last resort after your boundaries have been ignored and your peace has been stolen over and over again. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the moment you finally say, enough. We grow up thinking we have to fight for every relationship, that leaving is quitting, that silence is avoidance. But sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is not fight. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Silence isn't always empty. It's often full of truth. And when you choose to exit with dignity, no bitterness, no retaliation, just a clean and clear step away, you protect your soul. You choose your sanity over the satisfaction of being right. There's an old version of you that would have argued, cried, begged, and tried to convince them to see your heart. That version may have needed validation, closure, and apology. But when you grow, when you truly learn to value your inner peace, you realize closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. You stop needing them to say you were right. You start saying, I was worth more than that, and walking away before they have a chance to doubt it again. Disengaging with dignity is also about restraint. There's a temptation to expose the toxic person, to tell your side of the story, to gather allies. But dignity whispers, you don't need to win the story, you just need to win your life back. And that's what you're doing when you quietly walk away. You're reclaiming your emotional energy. You're deciding to stop watering dead plants. You're saying, my healing isn't up for public discussion. You might feel the urge to explain your departure, especially if you're used to over-explaining. But sometimes the more you explain, the more space you give someone to twist your words or minimize your experience. You don't owe an essay. You don't need permission. If you know in your gut that something isn't healthy, then walking away is a complete sentence. You don't have to slam the door. Just close it gently and lock it if you must. People will notice, toxic people especially, because what they count on is your reaction. They feed off of drama, attention, and emotional chaos. When you take that away, when you stop engaging, stop defending, stop dancing their dance, it disrupts their power. You take the oxygen out of the fire. The quiet exit is the loudest thing you can do because it communicates the one thing they fear most. You've outgrown them. You've moved on, and they no longer have access to your life, your mind, or your heart. Disengaging with dignity is not an act of cruelty. It's an act of deep self-respect. It's about choosing your well-being over the illusion of connection. And yes, it may feel lonely at first. It may feel unfamiliar, but eventually it will feel like freedom. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to walk away from the war quietly, steadily, with your head high, because the loudest statement you'll ever make is made in silence. We often don't think of our energy as currency, but it is. It's the most precious resource we have, our time, our attention, our emotions. They're all forms of energy. And yet we've been taught to give them freely, to offer them without checking the balance in our personal accounts. We think that being generous means constantly overextending ourselves, saying yes to every request, and pouring from an empty cup. But when we give without boundaries, we deplete ourselves. And no one, not even the people we love, benefits when we're running on empty. The truth is, every time you say yes to someone or something that drains you, you're making a withdrawal from your emotional bank account. And if you don't replenish it, if you keep overdrafting, eventually you find yourself in a place of exhaustion, resentment, and burnout. This is why it's so important to treat your energy like a form of currency, something that needs to be invested wisely. Every yes should come with a check-in. Will this give me energy or take it away? If it's the latter, your no is not a betrayal. It's a protective measure for your well-being. This is a concept that can be hard to grasp, especially for those of us who have spent years putting others first. We've been conditioned to believe that if we don't give, we're selfish. But in truth, overgiving isn't generosity. It's a form of self-neglect. When you allow others to withdraw from your emotional account without replenishing it, you're teaching people that your energy is unlimited. that your well-being is secondary, but your energy isn't infinite. You need to conserve it, protect it, and spend it intentionally. When we begin to recognize that our energy is currency, we start to understand that we are allowed to prioritize our own needs. We don't have to constantly be available for everyone else. We don't have to carry the emotional weight of every relationship or every situation. In fact, doing so doesn't just hurt us, it's unfair to others too. When we overextend ourselves, we don't show up fully for anyone. We can't give from an empty tank. The best way to help those around you is to take care of yourself first so you can show up in a way that's healthy and sustainable. It's essential to understand that people can only take so much before it begins to affect them too. If you're always giving, you might feel like a savior, a constant source of support, but at what cost? When you overdraft your energy for someone else's needs, you may unintentionally enable them to avoid their own responsibility. You may be giving them the message that they don't have to invest in themselves, that they can rely on you for everything. This creates an unhealthy dynamic. You are not their emotional bank, and you are not their therapist. You are their partner, their friend, their colleague, and they should invest in their own growth just as you must in yours. Saying no isn't easy, especially when we fear rejection or disappointing others. We want to be seen as kind, as helpful, as generous, but when you say no, you're actually protecting your ability to say yes in a way that's genuine. You're preserving your energy for the people, projects, and moments that truly matter. The more you practice setting boundaries and saying no, the more respect you'll earn, not just from others, but from yourself. You'll honor your time and your energy, and others will start to do the same. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to track where your energy is going. Who or what consistently drains you? Who makes withdrawals from your emotional bank account without ever making a deposit? It's time to stop investing in people and situations that don't give back. Start recognizing when your energy is being misused and give yourself permission to pull back. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You are not responsible for everyone else's emotional state. You are responsible for yours. When you learn to manage your energy as you would a financial portfolio, you stop overdrafting and start investing in your most valuable asset, yourself. You become more selective about where you place your energy, and in turn, you become more intentional about how you show up in the world. You'll notice that your relationships deepen, your creativity flourishes, and your peace grows. And this isn't just a gift to yourself, it's a gift to everyone around you. Because when you stop overdrafting, you become the healthiest version of yourself. And that, my friend, is the greatest gift you can give. There's a misconception that if we are kind, generous, or loving, we need to share our time, space, and energy with everyone. That somehow being a good person means letting everyone have access to our lives, our hearts, our homes. But as we grow and evolve, we start to realize something deeply profound. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. In fact, the right people will never force their way in. They will earn their seat through respect, trust, and mutual value, and that's perfectly okay. We spend so much of our lives trying to please others, trying to keep people happy, trying to fit everyone into our lives in the name of connection. But the truth is, some people simply don't belong at the table of your life. Some relationships are meant to be temporary, others toxic, and some just aren't aligned with the person you're becoming. When we stop trying to please everyone and start discerning who belongs in our inner circle, we create space for those who genuinely elevate us, inspire us, and respect us for who we truly are. The table of your life is not a free-for-all buffet. It's an exclusive gathering of people who respect your boundaries, who support your growth, and who share your values. It's okay to let go of relationships that no longer serve your well-being. It's okay to step back from people who consistently take, criticize, or manipulate. You do not owe anyone a seat at your table just because you've shared a history or because you fear their judgment. Your worth is not tied to how many people are around your table. It's tied to the quality of those relationships, not the quantity. When we start valuing ourselves, we begin to notice that not everyone who enters our lives has pure intentions. Some people will sit at your table and feast on your energy, your patience, and your kindness without ever offering anything in return. They will take your time without respecting your boundaries. They will speak negativity into your life while you try to hold space for their pain. But here's the truth. You are not a bottomless pit of resources. Your heart, your time, your energy, they are finite, and you deserve to spend them wisely. Letting go of toxic relationships is not an act of cruelty. It's an act of self-preservation. It's a way of saying, I respect myself enough to know when someone is not adding value to my life. This doesn't mean we discard people lightly or without care. It means we recognize when a relationship is no longer healthy and decide to honor ourselves by stepping away. It's a subtle but powerful choice to say, I can't keep giving to someone who doesn't see my worth. And in doing so, we make room for those who will. It's easy to feel guilty when we remove people from our lives. We might fear being seen as selfish or unkind. We worry about the judgment of others. But remember, the people who truly care for you will understand. They will respect your decisions and stand by you, even when you have to let go of someone who no longer belongs at your table. And those who don't understand, those who question your choices or make you feel bad for protecting your peace, are the very people who shouldn't have been at your table in the first place. Learning to curate the people in your life is a continual process. It's not something you do once and forget about. As you grow and evolve, you'll find that the people who once fit perfectly at your table may no longer align with your values, your purpose, or your energy. And that's okay. Letting people go doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means you love yourself enough to say goodbye when the relationship has become unhealthy or draining. And it also means you are creating space for new, more aligned connections to enter your life. Remember that your table doesn't have to be crowded to be meaningful. You don't need a large guest list to have a fulfilling life. The right people will show up. Those who share your vision, who respect your boundaries, and who love you without trying to change you. They will sit at your table not because they expect something from you, but because they genuinely want to be there. And when you create space for those individuals, your life becomes richer, more peaceful, and full of authentic connection. You don't need to please everyone. You just need to please yourself by ensuring that the people at your table are worthy of your time, your energy, and your heart.